Listen, when SHTF hits, it's not just the obvious survival items that'll save you. In this video, I'm breaking down 19 overlooked emergency preparedness stockpile items that most preppers completely miss when building their long-term food storage setup. And here's the kicker. Some of these cheap survival gear essentials you can grab at Dollar Tree or Walmart for under $5 today. By the end, you'll have a complete checklist of what to stockpile for emergency situations, where to get it on a budget, and how to store it properly so your family's actually prepared for grid down, natural disasters, or any SHTF scenario. I'm David. I've been actively prepping for over 10 years now, and I've made every mistake in the book so you don't have to. My neighbor lost power for 11 days during that brutal winter storm last year, and guess what? All his emergency preparedness supplies were basically worthless because he forgot the small, critical survival items that actually keep you alive and comfortable when the grid goes down. So today, we're not rehashing the basic prepper checklist of rice and beans. We're going deeper into the real emergency preparedness for beginners and advanced preppers alike. These are the lesser known prepper supplies that separate people who are actually ready from people who just think they are. I'm going to give you specific brands the prepper community trusts, exact prices for budget prepping, and where to buy everything, whether you're stocking up at Costco or doing Dollar Tree prepping. Before we jump in, drop a comment below and let me know. What's your biggest concern when building your emergency food supply stockpile? Grid down situations? Economic collapse? Natural disasters? I read every single comment and I'll help you prioritize. And if this helps your emergency preparedness plan, hit that subscribe button. We drop new prepper content every week. Let's dive in. Item 1, dried mushrooms. Dried mushrooms, this is one of those things that most preppers completely overlook, and honestly, it's a huge mistake. These are lightweight, nutrient dense, and they add this incredible umami flavor to literally anything you're cooking. Here's why this matters so much. Most preppers are out there stockpiling meat substitutes or protein powder, but they're totally ignoring mushrooms. And these things are absolute powerhouses. They're packed with vitamin D, which is huge because if you're sheltering indoors for any length of time, you're going to be really low on that. Plus, they add this meaty, savory texture to any dish you make. When you're eating bland emergency food day after day, that texture and flavor makes a massive difference. And get this, they literally last for years. My uncle's got a batch from 2018 that's still absolutely perfect. For where to buy these, your best bet is Asian supermarkets. You can pick them up for anywhere from $4 to $10 per bag, and honestly, that's the best pricing you're going to find. If you want premium varieties like shiitake or porcini, you're looking at $15 to $20 per bag, but the flavor is incredible. If you're on a budget, Walmart has mixed mushroom bags for around $6, which is a really solid deal. Storage is super simple. Just keep them in the original bag or vacuum seal them and keep them away from any moisture. 1 ounce of dried mushrooms rehydrates to about 1 cup, so you're getting serious value. Here's my pro tip. Don't throw out the soaking water when you rehydrate these. That water is absolutely packed with flavor. Use it as part of your cooking liquid for rice, soup, or pasta. You're basically getting double the value from one ingredient. But here's where it gets interesting. This next item is in your kitchen right now. Item 2, citric acid. Citric acid. Okay, this one's a total game changer, and most people have no idea what it even is. It's this food grade powder that literally does like 15 different jobs in your prepper stockpile. Here's why this matters so much. Citric acid is what gives lemons that tangy, bright flavor, but you can buy it in pure powder form. When fresh fruit runs out and you're eating nothing but stored food, you're missing that acid brightness. Everything tastes flat and boring. This fixes that problem completely, but it's not just about flavor. You can use it to preserve food, make cleaning solutions, and in a real pinch, you can even use it to help treat water. Having the ability to do all that with one ingredient is incredibly valuable when storage space is limited. For where to get this, Milliard brand on Amazon is what I use. It runs about $10 for 1 pound, and that's going to last you a really long time. If you're trying to keep costs down, Ball brand makes it too. You can find it at Walmart in the canning section for about $4 for 7.5 ounces, which honestly is a solid deal for getting started. One container literally lasts years because you're using just pinches at a time. Storage is super simple. Just keep it in an airtight container somewhere cool and dry, and you're good to go. Here's my pro tip. Add just a tiny pinch to canned vegetables when you reheat them. It makes them taste fresh instead of that metallic canned flavor everybody hates. It also works as a natural preservative for water storage. Use 1 teaspoon per gallon, and it keeps your water fresher for way longer. Speaking of keeping things fresh, you need to know about this. Item 3, nutritional yeast. First up is nutritional yeast, and I gotta tell you, this stuff is an absolute game changer for long-term food storage. It's this yellow flaky powder that's basically a flavor bomb and nutritional powerhouse all rolled into one. Here's what nobody tells you about long-term food storage. Taste fatigue is real, like really real. My family did a 30-day emergency food test where we only ate from our stockpile, and by day 12, we were all absolutely dreading mealtime. Everything tasted bland and boring. That's where nutritional yeast comes in and literally changes everything. It adds this amazing cheesy, savory, almost umami flavor to anything you put it on. We're talking rice, pasta, soups, even just plain crackers. It makes it all taste way better. Plus, here's the kicker. It's absolutely packed with B vitamins. When you're living off stored food and you don't have access to fresh produce, you're going to be missing those B vitamins. This stuff covers you. Now, for where to pick this up, you can get Bragg's brand at Whole Foods or on Amazon, and it typically runs you about $8 to $12 for a large container. That might sound like a lot, but one container literally flavors about 100 meals, so you're getting incredible value. If you're trying to keep costs down, Trader Joe's has their own brand for just $3.99, and honestly, it works just as well. Storage-wise, this stuff keeps for 2+ years in an airtight container in a cool, dark place. Just keep it sealed up and you're golden. Here's my pro tip for using this. Sprinkle it on literally everything. Popcorn, rice, pasta, soup, roasted vegetables, whatever you've got. It makes emergency food taste like actual comfort food instead of survival rations. And if you're dairy-free, or if dairy runs out during a crisis, this gives you that cheesy flavor you're going to be craving big time. Trust me on this one. Speaking of flavor, this next item is something most preppers completely ignore. Item 4, bouillon powder, not cubes. Next up, bouillon powder. And I'm not talking about those little cubes, I'm talking about the powder form. This is honestly one of those things that separates people who really know what they're doing from people who are just guessing. So bouillon cubes are fine, don't get me wrong, but powder is the prepper's actual secret weapon. Here's why this matters so much. You can control the exact amount you're using. Want a light broth? Use a little. Need something really concentrated and flavorful? Use more. You've got total control. Plus, it dissolves instantly even in lukewarm water, which is huge. You don't need to wait for it to boil or sit there stirring forever trying to get a cube to break down. And here's the big one. It doesn't rely on heat to work. When you're rationing fuel or you don't have a way to heat things up properly, that flexibility is absolutely critical. For where to get this better than Bouillon brand is what I recommend. You can pick it up at Target or Walmart for about $6 to $8 per jar. Now that might seem like more than cubes, but get this. One jar makes 38 cups of broth. That's insane value. If you're trying to keep costs down, Knorr makes powder packets you can get at Dollar Tree for just $1.25 each. Honestly, that's a really solid budget option, especially if you're just starting to build your stockpile. Storage-wise, these stay good for 2 years unopened. Once you open them, they're technically good for 6 to 12 months in the fridge, but we're talking survival situations here, so you're probably going to use it way faster than that anyway. Here's my pro tip, and this is something I actually learned during a camping emergency. Mix just a tiny bit of this into your drinking water when you're low on electrolytes or you're sweating a lot. It's not Gatorade, but that sodium and that little bit of flavor make you actually want to drink more water, which keeps you hydrated. It's honestly genius, and it works way better than you'd think. Now, here's something that'll shock you about emergency food supply. Item 5, GHE clarified butter. Ghee, this is butter with all the milk solids removed, which means it's completely shelf-stable for months without any refrigeration. And trust me, this is a total game changer for your stockpile. Here's why this matters. Fat is the most calorie-dense nutrient out there, and during emergencies, you need those calories. Regular butter goes rancid super quick. Oil works, but it's honestly pretty boring. Ghee gives you that amazing buttery flavor, you can cook with it, and you're getting serious calories, plus it's shelf-stable at room temperature for up to a year when it's unopened. Having the ability to add real butter flavor to your food when everything else tastes bland is huge for morale. For where to buy this, 4th and Heart brand at Target is what I recommend. It runs about $10 to $12 for 16 ounces. If you're on a tight budget, you can actually make your own from regular butter. There's tons of tutorials online and it's super easy. If you want to go premium, Organic Valley makes ghee for around $15 and the quality is really, really good. Storage is simple. Keep it in your pantry until you open it, then either put it in the fridge or just use it within a few months. Here's my pro tip. Add a tablespoon to your morning coffee or tea. It adds 120 calories and keeps you feeling full way longer. When food's scarce, that matters big time. Plus, it's absolutely incredible for cooking rice or frying up any kind of protein you've got stored. Now, this next one, honestly, most people have never even heard of item 6, dried seaweed, kombu or nori, dried seaweed, kombu or nori sheets. These are mineral-rich ocean vegetables that most preppers don't even think about, but they should because this stuff is incredibly useful. Here's why this matters so much. Your body needs iodine to function properly, and when you're eating from a stockpile for weeks or months, you might not be getting enough of it. Seaweed is basically nature's iodine supplement, plus it's loaded with tons of other minerals your body needs. And here's the really cool part. If you throw a piece of kombu into your bean pot, it actually makes beans digest easier and cook faster. When you're living on beans and rice day after day, that's absolutely huge for comfort and fuel conservation. For where to pick this up, Asian markets are your best bet. You can get it for about $3 to $6 per package. Trader Joe's also carries it if you've got one near you. If you're on a budget, those seaweed snack packs at Dollar Tree are just $1.25 and they work great. Storage is super simple. Just keep it in the original packaging in a cool, dry place and it'll last 2 to 3 years easily. A little bit goes a really long way too. One sheet can flavor an entire pot of beans or soup. Here's my pro tip. Toss a 4-inch piece of kombu into your bean pot when you're cooking. It reduces gas. Seriously, it actually works. Plus, it speeds up cooking time by about 15% and adds minerals to your food. You can remove it before serving or just chop it up and eat it too. But wait, if you're serious about your emergency food supply, this next item is non-negotiable. Item 7, Masa harina, corn flour. Masa harina. This is specially treated corn flour that makes tortillas, but honestly, it does so much more than that. This is one of those items that separates prepared people from everyone else. Here's why this matters. Bread is super hard to make in an emergency situation. You need yeast, you need time for it to rise, you need oven space. Tortillas, all you need is masa, harina, and water. That's it. No yeast, no rising time, and you can cook them on literally any heat source you've got. Plus, masa is nixtamalized, which is a fancy way of saying the nutrients are actually bioavailable for your body to use. Regular cornmeal isn't treated this way, so you're not getting the same nutritional value. For where to buy this, Masa brand is at pretty much any grocery store. It runs about $4 to $5 for 4 pounds. And get this, that's enough to make like 80 tortillas from one bag. Storage is pretty straightforward. Keep it in an airtight container or just seal up the original bag really tight, and it lasts 9 to 12 months. You can also use it for tamales, pupusas, or even as a soup thickener if you need to. Here's my pro tip. Mix it 2 parts masa to 1 part water, let it rest for 20 minutes, then cook it. No kneading needed at all. You can make flatbread on a pan, on a rock, or honestly, even on a car hood if things are really desperate. I'm not joking. It actually works. That kind of flexibility is invaluable. Now, here's something I never thought I'd stockpile until item 8, dried potato flakes, not instant mash. Dried potato flakes. And I'm talking about real dried potato flakes, not that instant mashed potato stuff. There's a huge difference. And this is something that really saved my family when our power was out for a week. Here's why this matters. Most instant mashed potatoes you find are loaded with additives and honestly taste like cardboard after you've been eating them for a few days. Real dried potato flakes are completely different. You can rehydrate them for mashed potatoes, sure, but you can also use them as a thickener for soups and stews, as an ingredient in bread, or even make potato pancakes. The versatility is incredible. Having the ability to use one ingredient in multiple ways means you need less variety in your stockpile, which saves space and money. For where to buy these, Honeyville or Augustin Farms on Amazon are what I recommend. You're looking at about $15 to $20 for a number 10 can. That sounds like a lot, but one can makes about 50 servings, so the value is actually really good. If you're on a tight budget, you can get generic dried potato flakes at Walmart for around $3 for a smaller box, which honestly is a solid way to try them out first. Storage is super simple. Keep them in a cool, dry place, and those sealed cans will last 10 to 15 years. That's insane longevity. Here's my pro tip. Use them to thicken soups and stews instead of flour. It adds nutrients, and it doesn't clump up like flour does. Also, if you're making bread, mix them into your dough for softer, longer-lasting bread. That's an old homesteading trick that really works. Speaking of bread, this next ingredient is an absolute must. Item 9, vital wheat gluten. Vital wheat gluten. This is pure wheat protein that makes emergency bread actually chewy and good instead of dense and crumbly. If you've ever tried baking during a shortage, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Here's why this matters so much. If you've ever tried to bake with just regular flour during a shortage or emergency, you know the texture is way off. It's dense, it's crumbly, it just doesn't have that satisfying chew that good bread should have. Vital wheat gluten is what gives bread that texture we all love. Plus, you can use it to make seitan, which is basically wheat meat, for protein when real meat's not available or you're trying to stretch your supply. It's shelf stable for years and you only need a little bit per batch, so one bag goes a really long way. For where to buy this, Bob's Red Mill is at pretty much any grocery store. It runs about $8 to $10 for 22 ounces. And one bag will improve about 10 to 15 loaves of bread, so you're getting serious value there. Storage is pretty flexible. You can keep it in a sealed container in the freezer for maximum freshness. Or just keep it in your pantry for 1 to 2 years and it'll be fine. You can also use it to make homemade protein bars if you get creative with it. Here's my pro tip. Add just 2 tablespoons per cup of flour in your bread recipe. It makes a massive difference in texture. Trust me. And if you're vegetarian or you're trying to stretch your meat supplies, learn how to make seitan. It's surprisingly easy and it takes on literally any flavor you give it. Now, this next one is something my neighbors laughed at until they needed it. Item 10, tapioca starch, not flour. Tapioca starch, and I'm talking about starch specifically, not flour. There's a difference. This is pure starch from cassava root, it's gluten-free, and it thickens literally anything instantly. Here's why this matters. When you're cooking with emergency rations, texture is absolutely everything. Watery soup is honestly just depressing to eat. Tapioca starch thickens without adding any flavor. It works even in cold liquids, and it's way more shelf-stable than cornstarch. Plus, if anyone in your family has gluten issues or sensitivities, this is your backup thickener for everything. You need a way to make food actually appetizing when you're eating from storage day after day, and texture is a huge part of that. For where to buy this, Asian supermarkets are going to give you the best prices. You can pick it up for about $3 to $5 per bag. Bob's Red Mill also makes it, and you can find that at regular stores if you don't have an Asian market nearby. If you're on a budget, generic tapioca flour at Walmart runs about $4, which honestly is a really good deal. Storage is super straightforward. Just keep it in an airtight container, and it lasts 2 to 3 years easily. For usage, you only need about 1 tablespoon per cup of liquid, so one bag goes a long way. Here's my pro tip. Always mix it with water first to make a slurry, then stir it in at the end of cooking. Never dump it straight into hot liquid or you're going to get clumps everywhere. Also, you can use it to make chewy boba pearls if you mix it with water and sugar. Kids absolutely love it and it keeps morale up during tough times. Item 11, whole spices, asame not ground. Whole spices, I'm talking about unground spices in their whole form, like cumin seeds, peppercorns, whole cloves. This is something that keeps their flavor for literally years instead of months. Here's why this matters so much. Ground spices lose their potency in about 6 months, and then you're basically just sprinkling dust on your food. Whole spices, we're talking 3 to 5 years of shelf life easy. Cumin seeds, coriander, peppercorns, whole cloves, these transform boring emergency food into something you actually want to eat. And flavor fatigue is a real psychological issue during long-term situations. When everything tastes bland day after day, it affects your mental state and your willingness to eat, which affects your health. For where to buy these, bulk bins at Whole Foods or ethnic markets are going to give you way better prices than those little jars at regular grocery stores. The priority spices you want are cumin seeds, coriander seeds, black peppercorns, cinnamon sticks, and whole cloves. You're looking at about $2 to $5 per container depending on the spice. Storage is pretty simple. Keep them in dark glass jars or sealed bags away from heat and light. You will need a cheap spice grinder or mortar and pestle, which you can pick up for $10 to $15 at Target, but it's totally worth the investment. Here's my pro tip. Toast whole spices in a dry pan for about 30 seconds before you grind them. It wakes up the oils and makes them way more potent and flavorful. A little goes way further, which means your stockpile lasts longer and you get more bang for your buck. Now, this next item is something I discovered by accident. Item 12, dried buttermilk powder. Dried buttermilk powder, this is powdered buttermilk that adds tang and seriously helps with baking in emergency conditions. Most people stockpile regular powdered milk, but this is the secret weapon they're missing. Here's why this matters. Buttermilk powder makes pancakes fluffy, bread tender, and adds that tangy flavor to dressings and dips that you're going to be craving. When you're eating bland food for weeks on end, that tang is honestly everything. It changes the whole eating experience. Plus, it's actually a leavening agent. If you mix it with baking soda, you've got emergency baking powder. When stores are closed or supply chains are disrupted, having the ability to make your own leavening agents means you can still bake bread and other essentials. For where to buy this, Sacco brand on Amazon is what I use. It runs about $8 to $10 for a canister. If you're trying to save money, you can make your own by adding vinegar to regular powdered milk, which works in a pinch but isn't quite the same quality. Storage is straightforward. Keep it in the original container or vacuum seal it, and it lasts 2 to 3 years easily. To reconstitute it, use 4 tablespoons of powder per cup of water, but honestly, you're probably going to use it in powder form for baking most of the time. Here's my pro tip. Make emergency ranch dressing with buttermilk powder, dried herbs, garlic powder, and a little bit of mayo or oil. It's an absolute game changer for making vegetables edible when you're sick of everything tasting the same. Trust me on this one, it makes a huge difference. Speaking of making things taste better, you absolutely need this. Item 13, miso paste. This is fermented soybean paste that's absolutely packed with probiotics and umami flavor, and honestly, this is something nobody talks about with long-term food storage. Here's what nobody mentions about emergency food supply. Your gut health really suffers. No fresh vegetables, no yogurt, everything's dead food with no beneficial bacteria. Miso is alive with beneficial bacteria that your gut needs. Plus, just a tiny spoonful makes an instant soup. It adds incredible depth to any dish, and one container literally lasts forever. I've had the same tub in my fridge for 18 months, and it's still absolutely perfect because it's preserved through fermentation. For where to buy this, Hikari brand at Asian markets or any regular grocery store runs about $5 to $8. If you want to go premium, organic white miso at Whole Foods is about $10 to $12, and the quality is noticeably better. Storage is pretty flexible. Keep it in the fridge if you can. But here's the thing, it's literally preserved through fermentation, so it's super stable even without refrigeration for a while. One tub gives you 50 plus servings, so the value is incredible. If you want even longer shelf life, you can buy miso powder instead of paste. Here's my pro tip, stir it into hot water at the end of cooking, but don't let it boil. Boiling kills the probiotics, which defeats the whole purpose. Also, try smearing a thin layer on meat before cooking. It's like an instant marinade and tenderizer all in one. The flavor it adds is absolutely incredible. Now here's where most preppers mess up their stockpile. Item 14, textured vegetable protein, just TVP. Textured vegetable protein, TVP for short. This is dehydrated soy protein that rehydrates into a ground meat texture. And I know what you're thinking, but hear me out on this one. Here's why this matters so much. Protein is expensive and it's really hard to store long term. TVP costs literally pennies per serving. It lasts for years and years. And when you rehydrate it with beef bouillon, it's honestly hard to tell the difference from ground beef. I'm serious about this. My skeptical dad tried my TVP tacos and didn't even realize it wasn't meat until I told him afterward. It's that good when you season it right. Having the ability to add protein to meals without relying on expensive freeze-dried meat or canned options is huge for your budget and your storage space. For where to buy this, Bob's Red Mill at grocery stores runs about $6 for 13 ounces. You can also find it in bulk bins at health food stores for way better prices. If you're buying in bulk online, you can get it for $2 to $3 per pound, which is incredible value. Storage is super simple. Just keep it in an airtight container in a cool, dry place, and it lasts 10 to 15 years. It rehydrates at a 1-to-1 ratio with hot water or broth. 1 pound of dry TVP makes about 4 pounds when it's rehydrated, so you're really stretching your dollar here. Here's my pro tip. Always rehydrate it with broth or bouillon, never plain water. Season it heavily with whatever you're making. Use it in chili, tacos, spaghetti sauce, or casseroles. It soaks up whatever flavor you give it. And here's a money-saving trick. Mix it 50-50 with real meat to stretch your meat supply without anyone noticing. But here's something even easier that nobody thinks about. Item 15, dried coconut milk powder. Dried coconut milk powder. This is powdered coconut milk that adds fat, flavor, and creaminess to literally everything you make. And it's way more practical than canned coconut milk for stockpiling. Here's why this matters. Canned coconut milk is great until you realize you need to stockpile like 50 cans to have enough. The powder form is concentrated, it's lightweight, and it lasts way longer than cans do. Plus, it adds those essential fats and calories that your body needs during emergencies. One bag takes up the space of maybe 2 cans, but makes way more servings. And it works in both sweet and savory dishes, which gives you tons of flexibility. You need a way to add richness and fat to your emergency meals, and this does it without refrigeration. For where to buy this? Hoosier Hill Farm brand on Amazon runs about $15 to $18 for 1.5 pounds. That might sound expensive, but the amount of coconut milk you get out of it is insane. If you've got Asian markets near you, sometimes they carry it cheaper, so definitely check there first. Storage is straightforward. Keep it in a sealed container in a cool place, and it lasts 2+ years easily. To use it, mix 3 to 4 tablespoons with 1 cup of hot water, and you've got coconut milk. Here's my pro tip. Use it to make creamy soups without any dairy products at all. Add it to coffee for a shelf-stable creamer situation that actually tastes good. Or mix it into oatmeal or rice for extra calories and way better flavor. It's also absolutely amazing for making Thai-style curry with your stockpiled rice. The versatility is unreal. Now this next one is something I wish I'd known about years ago. Item 16, dried tomato powder. Dried tomato powder, this is dehydrated tomatoes that have been ground into a fine powder. It's instant tomato flavor anywhere, anytime, and it's an absolute space saver for your stockpile. Here's why this matters so much. Canned tomatoes are heavy and they take up tons of space in your storage. Tomato paste is better, but it's still pretty bulky. Tomato powder, 1 jar equals like 15 cans of tomatoes. It takes up almost no space and you can control the concentration however you want. Want tomato soup? Thin it out with water. Need tomato paste? Use it thick. Want tomato sauce? Add a medium amount of water. It's literally the ultimate space saver, and the versatility is incredible. For where to buy this, Hoosier Hill Farm or Mother Earth products on Amazon run about $12 to $15 for 8 ounces. That sounds like a lot for such a small amount, but remember, this is super concentrated. If you've got a dehydrator at home, you can actually make your own by dehydrating tomato paste and then grinding it up, which is a good budget option. Storage is super simple. Just keep it in an airtight container and it lasts 2 to 3 years easily. You use about 2 to 3 tablespoons per cup of water for tomato sauce consistency. Here's my pro tip. Add just a spoonful to any soup, stew, or chili for instant depth and umami. It's way more concentrated than you think it is, so definitely start small and add more if you need to. Item 17, diastatic malt powder. Diastatic malt powder, this is sprouted barley powder that makes bread rise better and last longer. This is honestly a baker's secret that preppers really need to know about. Here's why this matters. Diastatic malt powder feeds yeast, which makes bread rise faster and gives you a better final product. It also keeps bread fresh longer, which is huge when you're trying to make food last. When you're baking with stored flour that might be a little old or lower quality, this compensates for that and brings it back up to bakery standards. Plus, it adds this subtle sweet malty flavor that makes emergency bread taste like it came from an actual bakery instead of your survival kitchen. For where to buy this, King Arthur Baking online or at their physical stores is what I recommend. It runs about $7 to $9 for 10 ounces. If you can't find that, Bread Improver from regular grocery stores has a similar effect and works pretty well too. Storage is best in the refrigerator or freezer for the longest life, but it'll keep in your pantry for about a year without issues. You only use 1/2 to 1 teaspoon per loaf, so one container goes a really long way. Here's my pro tip: don't use more than the recipe directs. Too much actually makes your bread gummy and weird, which defeats the whole purpose. But the right amount is honestly like magic. Your bread rises higher, has way better texture, and stays soft longer. When flour's scarce and every loaf counts, this makes sure you're not wasting anything. Now here's something that sounds weird, but is absolutely essential. Item 18. Pickle juice powder. Pickle juice powder. This is dehydrated pickle juice in powder form, and I know that sounds absolutely crazy, but stick with me here because this is for flavor and electrolytes. Okay, hear me out on this one. When you're stressed, working hard, or dealing with emergency conditions, you sweat. You need electrolytes to keep functioning. Sports drinks are expensive and they're super bulky to store. Pickle juice powder is salty, it's tangy, and it's got potassium and sodium that your body needs. Plus, it makes boring food taste really interesting. My wife thought I was absolutely crazy when I bought this until she actually tried it, and now she gets it. For where to buy this, Pickle Juice Sport brand on Amazon runs about $12 to $15. Now, if you want a budget option, you can save your actual pickle juice from jars and drink that, but that's not really a long-term storage solution like the powder is. Storage is super easy. Keep it in a sealed container, and it lasts 2+ years without any issues. To use it, just mix the powder with water, and you've got an instant electrolyte drink that actually works. Here's my pro tip. Add just a pinch to potato dishes, salad dressings, or chicken. It's like a flavor boost button that makes everything taste better. And seriously, when you're feeling drained or you've been working hard, mix this with water and drink it. It works just as well as Gatorade and costs way less per serving. The electrolyte boost is real and it kicks in fast. Now, this next one is for the long haul. Item 19, dried egg powder, whole egg, not just whites. Dried egg powder, and I'm specifically talking about whole egg powder, not just the whites. This is real dehydrated eggs that actually rehydrate into scrambled eggs you can eat. Here's why this matters so much. Eggs are one of the absolute hardest fresh foods to replace during an emergency. Powdered eggs last 5 to 10 years, and they're actually really good now. They're not like those gross ones from 20 years ago that tasted like cardboard. These are legit. They're perfect for baking, scrambling, or adding protein to literally anything. And the whole egg powder includes the yolk, which means you're getting the fat and all the nutrients, not just protein. Having the ability to make eggs years after they would have normally gone bad is incredible. For where to buy this, Augustin Farms on Amazon runs about $25 to $30 for a number 10 can. That sounds expensive, but get this. One can is equivalent to 70 fresh eggs. So when you break it down per egg, it's actually reasonable. If you want smaller quantities to try it first, Ova Easy brand has smaller packages available. Storage is super simple. Unopened cans last 10+ years, and once you open them, they last about a year. To use them, it's 2 tablespoons of powder plus 3 tablespoons of water equals 1 egg. Here's my pro tip. Don't expect them to taste exactly like fresh scrambled eggs because they won't. They're best used in baking or mixed into dishes where they're not the star. But for breakfast scrambles, add butter or ghee, cheese powder, and lots of seasonings, then they're actually really good. The key is treating them right and not expecting miracles. And finally, here's the one thing that ties everything together. Look, having an emergency food supply isn't about being paranoid. It's about being realistic. Whether it's a natural disaster, job loss, or supply chain issues, this stuff happens. The items I just showed you, they're not your typical prepper list because they focus on what actually matters during long-term situations: flavor, nutrition, and flexibility. Anyone can stockpile rice and beans, but the people who thrive are the ones who can make that rice and beans taste good on day 30. So here's what I want to know. Drop a comment and tell me which item you're grabbing first. Are you team nutritional yeast, or are you going to go straight for that miso paste? Let me know. And if this video helped you level up your emergency food supply game, smash that like button. It seriously helps other people find this content. Subscribe for more prepper tips, food storage hacks, and survival content every single week. I've got a whole series coming on building your stockpile on a budget. And check out the next video where I show you how to organize all this stuff so you can actually find it in an emergency. That's popping up on your screen right now. Stay prepared, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one.